Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Surabhyai Namaha Om Surabhyai Namaha Om Surabhyai Namaha Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. Continuing from Canto number 4, chapter 20, which is entitled Lord Vishnu's Appearance in the Sacrificial Arena. And I believe it is text 20. Yes. Prasthana Abhimukkaha Api Enam Anugraha Vilambitaha Pashyan Padma Palashaksho Na Prataste Surit Satam Prasthanabhimukopyenam Anugraha Vilambitaha Pashyan Padma Palakshaksho Na Prataste Surit Satam Prasthanabhimukopyenam Anugraha Vilambita Pashyan Padma Palashakshu Na Prataste Surit Satam Prasthanabhimukopyenam Anugraha Vilambitaha Pashyan Padma Palashakshu Na Prataste Surit Satam Prasthana to leave Abhimukkaha ready Api although Enam him Pritu Anugraha by kindness Vilambitaha detained Pashyan seeing Padma Palasha Akshaha the Lord whose eyes are like the petals of a lotus flower. Na not Prataste departed Surit the well-wisher Satam of the devotees. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The Lord was just about to leave, but because he was so greatly inclined toward the behavior of King Prithu, he did not depart. Seeing the behavior of Maharaj Prithu with his lotus eyes, he was detained because he is always the well-wisher of his devotees. Kindly repeat after me. The Lord was just about to leave, but because he was so greatly inclined toward the behavior of King Prithu, he did not depart. Seeing the behavior of Maharaj Prithu with his lotus eyes, he was detained because he is always the well-wisher of his devotees. Report. Here the word Suritsatam, the words Suritsatam are very significant. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always very inclined toward his devotee and is always thinking of the devotee's well-being. This is not partiality. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is equal to everyone. Samoham sarvabhuteshu. But to one who particularly engages in his service, he is very much inclined. In another place, the Lord says that a devotee always exists in his heart, and he also exists always in the heart of the devotee. The special inclination of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his pure devotee is not unnatural, nor is it partiality. For example, sometimes a father has several children, but he has special affection for one child who is very much inclined toward him. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. Those who constantly engage in the devotional service of the Lord in love and affection are directly in contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sitting as the Supersoul in everyone's heart. The Lord is not far away from the devotee. He is always in everyone's heart. But only the devotee can realize the Lord's presence, and thus he is directly connected. And he takes instruction from the Lord at every moment. Therefore, there is no chance of a devotee's being in error, nor is there any partiality on the part of the Lord for his pure devotees. Translation again. The Lord was just about to leave, but because he was so greatly inclined toward the behavior of King Prithu, he did not depart. Seeing the behavior of Maharaj Prithu with his lotus eyes, he was detained because he is always the well-wisher of his devotees. So This is nicely being pointed out here, how the Lord is especially attracted to the behavior of his devotee. Behavior is very much connected with character, which we were discussing a few days ago, is very highly emphasized in the Vedic culture. That is the, we could say, beginning of education, developing good character. Of course, automatically that will develop for one who is trained in Krishna consciousness from very early childhood. And Surit Satam also pointed out in his verse that the Lord always remains the well-wisher of his devotees. Bhoktaram jagyatapasam sarvaloka maheswaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatvamam shantim rishyati, as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita. So the beginning, and in many ways the essence of Krishna consciousness, what is especially attracting or attractive to the Lord is the the type of exchanges, loving exchanges. Actually, that is the essence of Krishna consciousness. How to engage in favorable, loving exchanges, ultimately with the Lord, but that is first demonstrated on how devotees amongst themselves engage in loving relationships. That is our natural constitutional position. There is, or there are, in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, many such wonderful examples of the Lord engaging in very loving relationships with his devotees. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in Jagannath Puri, we all know that he had taken sannyas and had a very strong desire to go to Vrindavan. After taking sannyas, as we know, he did not immediately go to Vrindavan. And he was requested actually by Mother Sachi to make his headquarters in Jagannath Puri, which was closer to Navadvip. And the Lord obliged. But still he had that intense desire to go to Vrindavan. And it took a long time actually. Finally he did go. But he was waiting for the permission from his devotees. Lord Chaitanya understood how greatly attached the devotees were to him, and he did not want to cause any kind of disturbance to them. That is the special feature of the Lord and his devotees. Always very attentive to the mood and mentality and sentiments of others. Always wanting to please others. Even wanting to, because that is the essence of devotional service, wanting to please, wanting to render service in different ways. Even we see an example of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. He becomes very pleased to render service to his own devotees. Devotee is someone who is meant to please the Supreme Lord, but the Lord himself, he is the emblem of devotional service. So he himself is very inclined, very attracted to render service to those who are devoted and dedicated to him. And we see that actually in both the example of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna himself. These are the attractive features of the Lord and his devotees. This is also nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada, how in Vrindavan the devotees are in transcendental competition how to serve Krishna. Because of their advanced level of Krishna consciousness, they derive great satisfaction in rendering service either to the Lord or to other living entities. And in this way the devotees engage in very, very wonderful, loving relationships. So this is being conveyed here, how Prithu Maharaj, he very much appreciated the behavior, the mood, the mentality of Prithu Maharaj, and therefore remained for some time. Just like Krishna also, after the battle of Kurukshetra, the devotees although the Lord had to return to Dwarka on the Lord's request, he stayed for a longer period of time. So there is this kind of very deep loving relationship between the Lord and his devotees, and this is the outcome of what happens when we actually follow in the footsteps of great personalities, when we develop more and more our Krishna consciousness. We become more sensitive, more attentive to other devotees, and as it is mentioned in the verse that Prabhupada is quoting, it is not simply something external, rather the opposite. Tesham satata juktanam bhajatam priti purvakam, rendering service in order to attract the favor of the Lord must have this dimension or aspect of loving devotion. Means it is not mechanical. Mechanical devotional service, of course, performing any activity in devotional service is good, but we will more easily attract the attention of the Lord when we perform those activities with love and attention, as it is described here. We'll go on to the next text. So text 21. Translation. The original king, Maharaj Prithu, his eyes full of tears and his voice faltering and choked up, could neither see the Lord very distinctly nor speak to address the Lord in any way. He simply embraced the Lord within his heart and remained standing in that way with folded hands. And the purport. Just as Krishna is addressed in the Brahma Samhita as Adipurusha, the original personality, so King Prithu, being an empowered incarnation of the Lord, is referred to in this verse as Adi Rajaha, the original or ideal king. He was a great devotee and at the same time a great hero who conquered over all undesirable elements in his kingdom. He was so powerful that he was equal in fighting to Indra, the king of heaven. He gave protection to his citizens, keeping them engaged in pious activities and devotion to the Lord. He did not collect a single cent of taxes from the citizens without being able to give them protection from all calamities. The greatest calamity in life is to become godless and therefore sinful. If the state head or king allows the citizens to become sinful by indulging in illicit sex life, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling, then the king is responsible and he has to suffer the resultant sequence of reactions for the sinful lives of the citizens because he levies taxes on them unnecessarily. We read recently how 1/6 of the sinful reactions are transferred actually to the king by allowing his citizens to engage in adharmic activities. These are the principles of a ruling power. And because Maharaj Prithu observed all the principles of a ruling chief, he is referred to here as Adi Raja. Even a responsible king like Maharaj Prithu can become a pure devotee of the first order. We can distinctly see from King Prithu's behavior how he became ecstatic, both externally and internally, in pure devotional service. Just today, we have seen in the newspapers of Bombay that the government is going to repeal its prohibition laws. Ever since Gandhi's non-cooperation movement, Bombay has been kept dry and has not allowed the citizens to drink. But unfortunately, the citizens are so clever that they have increased illicit distillation of liquor, and although not being sold publicly in shops, liquor is being sold in public lavatories and similar abnormal places. Unable to check such illicit smuggling, the government has decided to manufacture the liquor at cheaper prices so that people can have their supply of intoxication directly from the government instead of purchasing it in public laboratories. The government failed to change the hearts of the citizens from indulging in sinful life. So instead of losing the taxes they collect to inflate the treasury, they have decided to manufacture liquor to supply to the citizens who hanker after it. Recently, a few weeks back, or maybe a bit more, I was sharing how one of the persons whom we had interviewed as part of our ongoing research he was closely connected with the government and had mentioned that for the coming year, those who are responsible for selling liquor have been given a new quota. Instead of collecting only, I forget the actual figure, instead of collecting, let's say, 15 crore rupees, their new quota was 25 crore. You were there, maybe? Yeah. So Prabhupada is making the point here that it is very much the duty, the responsibility of government. Previously it was monarchy, kings. Nowadays it's prime ministers or presidents. But it is very much their duty to arrange society in such a way that gradually the citizens, the heart of citizens can become purified, can be changed, so that they are not engaged in sinful activities. So the last paragraph here. This kind of government cannot check the resultant actions of sinful life, namely war, pestilence, famine, earthquakes, and similar other disturbances. Nature's law is that as soon as there are discrepancies in regard to the law of God, which are described in Bhagavad Gita as dharmasya glani, or disobedience to the laws of nature, or God, at once there will be heavy punishment in the form of sudden outbreaks of war. We have recently experienced a war between India and Pakistan. Within 14 days, there have been immense losses of men and money, and there have been disturbances to the entire world. These are the reactions of sinful life. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant to make people pure and perfect. If we become even partially pure, as described in the Bhagavatam, nasta prayashabhadrishu, by development of Krishna consciousness, then lust and greed, the material diseases of the citizens, will be reduced. So Prabhupada is making the point, even if we don't become pure devotees immediately, even a small advancement or a small amount of purification will be beneficial to us individually and to society in general. This can be made possible simply by broadcasting the pure message of Srimad Bhagavatam, or Krishna consciousness. Big commercial and industrial firms have contributed many thousands of rupees to a defense fund that burns the money in the form of gunpowder. But unfortunately, if they are asked to contribute liberally to advance the Krishna consciousness movement, they are reluctant. Under the circumstances, the world will periodically suffer from such upsurges and outbreaks of war, which are the consequences of not being Krishna conscious. And Prabhupada is making the contrast between the time of Prithu Maharaj and his ruling over his kingdom to our present day situation in the world, and pointing out how that is the primary goal and purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement, to spread this message so that those who are fortunate to take it up can purify their lives and create a better situation, a better atmosphere within society. Any comments on this? So we'll close here. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Sri Prabhupada ki Gaur Premanande.